Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is my training log for the week of May 29th. On Monday, I began the training week with the bench press again. Today's goal was to do 355 pounds for 3 reps, which I was able to accomplish. The bench progression is pretty aggressive and is definitely getting harder, but I'm confident I'll be able to continue doing the heavy triples with increasing weight for at least the next couple of weeks. Eventually, I'll need a change of strategy, but for now, my big goal here is to lift something above 405 for a 1 rep max in the coming months. So once I'm confident that I can do that, I'll make an attempt. I then moved on to a seated axle bar shoulder press at 195 for 4 sets of 5, and then 205 for the final set of 5. The focus for this was to come to a complete stop at the bottom on every rep to focus on developing power out of the hole. Before, I had relied on momentum from the previous rep to get me out of the bottom, but now I'm focusing on coming from a dead stop. The third exercise on Monday was an incline dumbbell bench press. The goal was to do 85 pounds for 2 sets of 20, but I was only able to get 15 reps on the first set and 14 on the second. This was kind of an aggressive jump from 80 by 20 last week, so I'm not too worried about it. Moving on, I did seated cable flies with a heavy focus on the eccentric portion of the movement. Because of the exaggerated eccentric, I dropped the weight from 14 last week to 12 this week to compensate for the added time under tension. I performed 2 total sets of this, the first of 11 reps and the second of 13 reps. Instead of choosing a specific rep range for this exercise, I decided to focus more on feeling the muscle working and wanted to push close to failure while still maintaining that slow eccentric movement. I then did some incline cable flies, one of my favorite for the upper pecs. I also focused on a slow eccentric here, as this has been a reliable way for me to approach hypertrophy training. I did 2 sets of 10 with a weight of 14. Next, I did cable lateral raises, sets of 15, 12, and 10, increasing the weight each set. I prefer to use dumbbells for lateral raises because they generally feel more effective for me, but I figured I'd try these out again since I was already on the cables. Next week, I'll be back to the dumbbells for sure. Moving on here to the last movements for Monday, I did a superset of 10 face-down incline rear delt flies with 30-pound dumbbells, coupled with 15 GHD sit-ups per set. I did a total of 3 of these supersets. On Tuesday, I started off with heavy farmer carries. This is one of the staple movements that I want to always incorporate into my training, as I believe it's some of the most functional and important work that you can do. I did a few warm-up sets and worked up to a PR weight of 305 pounds per hand for a total of 50 feet, which I was very pleased with. This is the most I've ever done for this lift, and I'm looking forward to pushing it into the mid-300s this year. The second movement today was a neutral grip lat pull down performed with 30 seconds of rest in between sets. Last time I did these, I used about 3/4 of the weight stack and did 8 sets of 8. This time I used the entire weight stack and did 5 sets of 8. I plan to progress this by adding 1 set per week until I can do the entire weight stack for 8 by 8. Next, I did 21s with the easy curl bar. 7 reps from the bottom to halfway up, 7 reps from halfway up to the top, and finally 7 full reps. I did this with a 25 and a 5 on each side for 3 total sets. I did those as a superset with JM presses with a safety squat bar. This has become my favorite tricep builder lately. It feels great on the triceps and elbows, and I can tell that it's working. I used 205 pounds total for 3 sets of 10. Next week, I'll keep the weight the same and try for a larger range of motion, bringing the pad all the way to my face on every rep. I then moved into a superset of dumbbell hammer curls paired with decline dumbbell skull crushers for 3 sets of 10 each. I used 50-pound dumbbells for the hammer curls and 40-pound dumbbells for the skull crushers. Finishing up, I did a barbell wrist roller with a large green band and a 40-pound dumbbell for 3 sets of 4 reps in each direction. On the final set, I only made it through 2 reps of each, so next week I'll keep the weight the same and try to finish that last set. This is a great way to build your forearms and is one of the most painful upper body exercises I think I've done. On Wednesday, after a good solid warm-up, I went with Hatfield Bulgarian-style split squats with the safety squat bar. These have become my favorite quad and glute builder lately. This week I did 4 sets of 8 on each leg at 235, 10 pounds higher than last week. This was a brutal exercise to get through so many sets of, but it was definitely worth it. Nothing feels as effective on my quads and glutes and overall stability and athleticism as these do. I then moved to a foam roller hack squat using a slant board and kettlebells. This is a great substitute for if your gym doesn't have a hack squat machine. Right now, my primary lower body training focus is on my quads, as this has helped me more in my back squats and running and everything else than any other exercise. I'm a naturally posterior dominant athlete, so any advantage I can gain in the quads is something I need. I did 3 sets of 10 here. I don't remember the weight of these kettlebells, I just referenced the tape on the handles to know what I did last time. The third exercise was a back extension with a 25-pound plate. Ideally, the pad would encompass my entire leg and hip structure, but as usual, at 6'5", I'm too big for the gym equipment. On these, I'm intentionally rounding my back and then coming up one vertebrae at a time to strengthen the spinal erectors. At the top, I make it a point to squeeze my glutes and get them working as well. This movement has been great for my back health, and next week I plan on trying out Jefferson curls in their place. I really like the idea of going through spinal flexion and extension under some load. I know that this is widely frowned upon in the training world, which I think is just a fad and a regurgitated talking point that people like to point out to make them feel smarter. Lastly, I finished up with a superset of 10 ab wheel rollouts and 20-second side planks. I've been using the ab wheel a lot and it's getting really easy, so I'll likely switch to weighted planks soon for my abdominal work. Wednesday's training session didn't have very many exercises in it, but it was brutal nonetheless. It still felt very productive, and I like to keep the leg days shorter and more intense. I find that because these movements are so taxing compared to upper body lifts, it's better to focus on just a few and go as hard as possible on them instead of going easy and getting more volume in. I forgot to put the memory card on my camera on Thursday, so I wasn't able to get footage, and on Friday I had to train at a less video-friendly location, so I don't have any video from those days for you guys. But I hope that these 3 days of work give you guys a good idea of how I'm training, and I appreciate you guys following along. I'm very excited to bump up all these weights next week, and I'll see what I can do. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel.